First look today at the Raide UL 1 liter belt. By the way, UL, LF with their 2 liter belt. I have no idea what they stand for. Maybe it's a secret code or something, but haven't had time to research that. But the L in 1L and 2L does stand for liters, and this one, being 1L, is rated at 1 liter less capacity than the LF2L, which I really love. Lighter, trimmer belt here. Also tighter, by the way. I will talk about sizing. I'll be doing a full running belt roundup with a bunch of my primary options. So really just the first look here, just to kind of get your feet wet for that full roundup where I'll dig a little bit more into the details as the different belts compare to each other. I'm also running in the Amplux 2 from Lowa here. You can see I'm running in a t-shirt, and I do have the GORE-TEX model on my feet. They are doing their job as far as I'm concerned for a GORE-TEX shoe, keeping the feet warm. I definitely want to reserve my main testing for colder temperatures and also pretty rugged and technical terrain in these shoes. So just a bit of a feel out today. Wanted to get a feel for them after having them on foot in the house. Definitely a alpine inspired ride and feel here. Firm underfoot, lower to the ground. Don't want to get into too many details today, but I'll put the specs up on the screen and you can probably see what I'm talking about. I will note that I am running true to size in this shoe, US 9.5 here, and I also have a Sidus Run Anatomic Comfort sock on. I do find the shoe a little bit roomy in the heel, so I wanted that little extra padding that the comfort model from Sidus gives. Very snug and secure with this sock in there right now. Check out my gear roundup video for my first impressions on this UL 1 liter belt here. Definitely tight. Had trouble getting it on. Again, check that review and I talk about it in depth, but I have a size extra small here. Same size I have in the 2 liter belt, and this one is definitely snugger than that one. I was reassured by Raide that it was okay to try to really squeeze it over my hips, and even it was okay if you heard a little pop pop from maybe a stitch here or there snapping. I haven't had any of that so far, but after a few usages, maybe 4 or 5 times I've run in this belt, it seems to have opened up very slightly, but not that much. It's still way tighter than my 2L belt. Again, both extra small, but I think you may want to consider going up a size in the 1 liter. I'm not certain. Sizing may be a little bit different in the larger models like medium, large, extra large, even small. It's possible they maybe wanted to give very smaller, thinner runners at least one option in their line and maybe made this one a little tighter. I'm not sure. I'm just speculating here. I am working up a little bit of grade here and seems to have leveled out in terms of the shoes feeling warm. Definitely seems to be pretty breathable. It's not an overly thick GORE-TEX layer. It is their invisible fit here, so I'm not excessively sweating in there. Just feel, touch warm, and again, that's good for colder temps. So quick rundown on the features here. UL 1 liter, low capacity. It's not going to have a ton of pockets. I think they really emphasize simplicity in both this belt and the 2 liter belt. Let's see what I got in here now. I do have a 90-gram precision gel here. I also have a 40-gram SIS beta gel here. You have one large pocket up front. You also have 2 interior pockets here. These can be used to hold gels or other small items. It's not a kangaroo pocket fully against the stomach here. It is 2 smaller separate pockets from here to here. They are a bit shallow. I mean, the waist of this belt is pretty thin, so if you put a gel in there and you have it standing up, it's kind of sticking out. If you like to have your belt underneath your shirt, little things like this could kind of rub up against your skin, which may be uncomfortable. Also in there, you have a different strapping system here. There's a couple of small bungees in here. Again, with this being extra small and being super tight on me, I actually don't really tighten these down that much. I think I could. Maybe that'll give me a little more secure fit, but I don't really have an issue. I kind of almost forget they're there. I do fully loosen them because I have a hard time getting this belt on. Like, I have to really get like a pencil to get this over my hips and my butt back here. But once it's on, it is great. It is super secure, just like the LF2L. So if this one is super secure and I said the 2L was larger, 2L has that strapping system, and I feel like that's what really locks it down. And I do have to kind of cinch that up. Even at the same size, I have to pull that and it gets really nicely. I have these sitting, my hip bone is right exactly here. So it's kind of like just touching the top edge of my hip bone here, and I have it above. It's kind of, my belly button is right here. That is the spot for me, which gives me pretty minimal bounce here in both of those belts. But again, with the 2L, I have to kind of cinch those straps. You don't have those here. It is a little bit tighter, and they give you more minimal straps here, which I don't have to use given that the sizing is smaller. Let's flip it around over here. You also have similar outer pockets there, and you can stash some gels in there. Quick look here. Again, the waist is not that tall. I don't know if there's going to be a big difference between larger sizes, say a medium large, extra large size of this belt, but you know, these SIS gels are a little bit tall, so it kind of does stick out. I think with shorter gels, it would be more of it in there, or maybe you could squeeze them in there sideways if they were not as tall as this one, and then maybe you can get at least a couple in each of these outer ones here. As far as hydration, I find it a pretty tight squeeze to get it in here. You can see this is pretty narrow. This belt comes with a 500 ml bottle. I have my 650 ml bottle from the 2-liter locking flask, again here from Hydro Pack. So this one comes with a 500. This 650 ml one comes with the 2-liter belt. I can't find my 500. I don't know where I put it. But even with the 500 one, I was testing it. It's a tight squeeze. And actually, I found, now that I couldn't find it today and I was trying it with this one, it's actually easier to fill it a little bit less and have the bottle have a little bit more play to it. I actually find I could kind of wiggle that one in a little bit easier, the larger bottle, less filled. When the 500 is filled super tight, it's a little bit wider than the opening here. Again, size extra small here. The opening may be bigger and it may not be an issue in the larger sizes, but I have a hard time getting it in there when the bottle is super tight like this at 500 ml. I was finding myself using a smaller bottle or not filling it all the way, and I kind of stumbled upon this on this run today, and I have no problem getting in. I have about 500 ml here, but with the bottle being a little bit more foldable, I'm able to get it in and out pretty easily. I can do that behind my back, no problem. But I do find that the 2-liter belt, it has a wider opening. The belt is a little taller. It's just easier to get the bottle in and out on the run. This one's kind of a little bit tricky. Again, when it's full, to do that behind your back with a taut bottle, getting it in and out, at least in the initial, before you drink it down a bit, it's a little bit difficult. So I find myself reaching for the 2-liter belt even when I'm going on shorter runs. I think this may be a very specific belt for like very lightweight runs. Now, I do have to mention they do have a short system with kind of pockets that are meant to go with this belt in some kind of way. They were out of stock, so they weren't able to send that to me along with this belt here. So perhaps that was the intention, to have this thinner, of course, and then I know it has some side pockets for like 350 or 250 ml bottles on the side shorts here. So they probably factored that, I mean, they definitely factored that into the design, so I can't really fully comment on it. One thing to note also is this front pocket is not separated from the rear. It extends all the way back here. See my finger here? This is where the bottle is. I'm touching my water bottle right now. There's no vertical separation here. With the 2-liter model, it's closed off right here because you have those straps coming on the outside. And one thing I talked about in my UltraSpy review, and I have talked about it with the 2-liter, I wish there was a way to route a hose or even a battery cable from the rear to the front. This is better for that, although it's a smaller capacity belt, so I'm not sure how useful it is to be carrying routing things all over the place, you're pretty much gonna go pretty lightweight if you're gonna wear this vest. But it is open all the way to the rear. So if you did have to route a cable, perhaps you're in a backyard ultra or some of these, something like that, where you have a battery bank in the back and then you just have your watch and you need to like charge it throughout the course of the event somehow, or keep your phone charged, you can run the cable inside of the belt and have something charging up front here. That's a pretty cool feature. I really like the fit of this belt. A lot of reservations initially due to the tightness, but again, a couple times in, it's feeling really great right now. I can see this being a short distance race belt, maybe even a great road marathon belt. I wore the Instinct belt in the Munich Marathon about a month ago. I didn't have this one at the time. If I had this one at the time, I would have had to make a very close call between the Instinct belt and this one. I guess I'll cover some more details in my waist belt roundup. Initial impressions on the Amplux 2 here, very secure, very dialed fit. I'm hopping around a bit here and there, and I do not detect a millimeter of movement of my foot inside the shoe. Very confidence inspiring. This is going to be a great shoe. I can feel it in technical terrain. Just a feel out run here today again. I don't have all the full specs with me. Sometimes I do that intentionally. I do, of course, weigh the shoe out of the box, so I have some general specs, but I go out for maybe the first run sometimes without kind of the info with me, just to get a really good feel for them. I do know, being a GORE-TEX shoe, it's a touch on the heavier side, but I have to say, on the run now, given the fit and security and the ability to maneuver around, be really agile, it doesn't feel heavy on the run, that's for sure. There's also, I know, a carbon fiber reinforced protection plate, something like that. I'm not feeling really anything, not in the slightest, poking up to the bottom of my foot. All right, last little test here today with the UL. I'm gonna try to reach back and grab the bottle out. I'm gonna use my left hand actually too, so that should make it a little more tricky. Let's see. Oh, there it goes. I did have one sip or two at the close-up back there, but it's still pretty full, and I was able to get it out with one hand, so not too bad. It is tighter in there than the 2L though. So I do have to know, and this is something I'm just gonna keep talking about until maybe somebody hears it. I like a locking nozzle on a salt flask, but they should do something to make a more positive lock on this one. It just slides open and close way too easily. Earlier, after that close-up, I actually, flipped it open by accident and spilled a bunch of my drink on my hand. I think they could do something to kind of make a notch somehow when it's closed that just makes it stay or sit more securely in the closed position. So, Hydra Pack, if you happen to see this, I think this could be a little bit better. So just a quick one here today. Stay tuned for my waist belt roundup. I'm gonna have this belt along with the other Raide belt and the other top running waist belts that I have in my quiver at the moment. I'm really becoming more of a waist belt guy as the quality and the especially fit and security, no bounce in any of the waist belts that I'm gonna put in my roundup. If there's any bounce, I won't wear it. So be on the lookout for that. Thank you again for tuning in. Check out all the links for all the goodies down below in the description. I'll see you out on the trails in the next one.